Hey! Hi everybody, it's me, Flogel already here, and today I'm going to be talking about GORILLAZ, one of my favourite bands of all time, and I'm going to be attempting to rank their albums from worst to best. One of my first ever memories is watching Clint Eastwood on MTV when I was about 5 or 4 even, I'm not sure. But ever since then I've just grew up with the music, and not only is it because of the quality and consistency of like their music being so good, but also just like the imagination that's been put into it. And you know, I'm a big fan of animation. I've got my Mickey Mouse jumper on. I've got Eeyore here. He's not going to be talking too much in this video because he's a depressed bugger. Now, I know it sounds a bit negative talking about worst to best, but I assure you that even the worst album, in my opinion, has a few brilliant songs on it. And the only thing I'll also say as well is that even though I am including G-sides and D-sides, I'm not going to be including that remix album, whatever it's called. I'll just put its name here. But saying that, let's get on with the video. In my opinion, this is the worst release by GORILLAZ, G-sides. And you know, I don't actually just feel that it's the overall quality of the music that's letting this album down. It's the length, where it's actually barely over half an hour. And on top of that, some of the songs are a bit disappointing to listen to because, well, we've got a different version of Clint Eastwood. It is pretty good because the Fire Life Cypher version is basically just like a full-on hip-hop version of it, like just full-on rapping. And it's pretty good, but just nothing I'd really rush to return to. And remix by Soul Child of 2000. And although I will give it that, it is actually a really good remix. Again, just it being a remix is something that I'm not really wanting to rush to, even though it is good. And the most disappointing thing is definitely the radio edit version of Rock the House, which is literally just the same version, only removing one of the verses of Del the Funky Homo Sapien. You know, what's the point of that? So excluding them, the new material here is definitely wishy-washy. The worst things that can come on this album is Hip Albatross, which is basically just like an experiment gone wrong, in my opinion. It definitely shows Damon Albarn's love of like old school horror and zombie films, but no, I would never choose to put this on. And Left Hand Suzuki Method is very weird, and despite its liking weird music, it's just it contrasts between sounding very dark and surprisingly uplifting, and in a very strange manner. However, here's some songs that are really worth checking out if you haven't heard this album. Dracula, which is an amazing song. One of my favourite memories is walking to school and going through a little forest area and always listening to Dracula on there. Very dark and gloomy, very dubby, but a brilliant song. And Forced, which I've always found a very beautiful song, a strange but beautiful song, and it's definitely up there with one of my favourite GORILLAZ tracks, period. Some songs like Ghost Train I think is okay, and 12D3 is passable. But overall, I think this is a mixed bag of an album, and definitely one of those things where you just kind of pick out your favourites and leave it as that. And in comes the next GORILLAZ album, which many consider to be a huge disappointment when it came out, which is The Fall. And I've always had a very big soft spot for The Fall, and it's not just because I find it obviously very impressive that Damon Albarn created the entirety of, nigh on the entirety of this album just through an iPad. But I don't know, I've always really liked GORILLAZ when they went into more electronic sound, and a lot of this is obviously based around that. Now, if you don't like that sort of sound, immediately I'd definitely check out Bobby and Phoenix, which is a beautiful folky sounding track, which is obviously featuring Bobby Womack, rest in peace. But even on top of that, I feel that there's a lot of songs here that is really worth checking out. Including songs like Little Pink Plastic Bags, which is a very melancholy sort of sound. Revolving Doors, which is a great track. Obviously still has that electronic sound to it, but I wouldn't see how it couldn't be on any other Gorillaz album. And even just having to rewire your brain a bit and just get used to the whole album having a consistent vibe, which I suppose is why a lot of people aren't that bothered about this. It's mainly because the Gorillaz are just renowned for being genre jumpers, and they don't really try too much in this album. Some songs aren't that very good. The Speak It Mountains is pretty terrible, and Seattle Yodel, you know, it is what it is. Worth checking out maybe. Other songs I just find again just kind of passable, like Aspen Forest, the Joplin Spider, which is a kind of harsh sounding techno song. Never thought I'd hear a Gorillaz song that sounds this like balls to the wall dancey. And the Parish of Space Dust and California and the Slip in the Sun. Songs that I just again don't really rush to, but I find songs like Detroit to be beautiful instrumentals, as well as like Phone in Arizona. I love Hillbilly Man. I love Amarillo, and yeah, I mean overall, it's a lot of the songs on here are instrumentals, which again might put some people off, but again I think that there is quite a lot to enjoy on this, and at least from the songs that I've recommended, I'll at least say give those songs a try, and if you're feeling a bit more bold, give the whole thing a try, you know, it's worth it. Gonna be completely honest here, despite my attempts of trying to rank these albums, these next two I think are actually on par with each other, and that's D-Sides and the debut album. I'll talk about them separately at least, and I'll talk about D-Sides first, I suppose. I've just got really good memories with this album, and I'm afraid it just might be one of those things where it's just personal recollections of enjoying this album more than it actually being just quality-wise a really good album that really, you know, sticks with me and evokes just nostalgia and all that sort of thing. 68 State, my dad used to put this on in the car when we used to drive to different places. And just in my opinion, it's on a totally different level with G-Sides. I mean, yeah, again, we are getting some songs which we've heard before. People is basically like a demo version of Dare. Not as good, but still kind of interesting in hearing. And Don't Get Lost in Heaven, we've got a demo version of that, but I really enjoy that actually. It's a version basically that is very lo-fi and it doesn't include any backing singers. And despite us really liking that, it's kind of just like a totally different take of it, despite just being called a demo. I really enjoy that demo. But that's it. Every other song here, not including obviously the remixes on disc 2, which it isn't worth really talking about. They're interesting to listen to maybe once or twice, but they're nothing special. But I'm not including disc 2 when talking about the overall album. Everything else is just totally brand new songs, and on top of that, they're brilliant songs. Swagger, We Are Happy Landfill, Bill Murray, Spitting Out the Demons. That is an amazing song. I love Spitting Out the Demons. Really heavy, bassy and gritty, and probably maybe could be my favourite Gorillaz song is on here, Hong Kong. And I'm not even going to spoil that song. It's beautiful. Really, if you haven't heard Hong Kong, please check that out. It's gorgeous. And again, you know, we're getting songs which I don't think is as good as others. Despite us listening to this album God knows how many times, I still can't remember how Highway Under Construction goes, because it's just one ear out the other. And I don't know, Murdoch is God is kind of just like it's a bit of a novelty sort of song, and that's it. But everything else I think is at least really good. So, great album. And so we've got Gorillaz' debut album, which I find a rather bleak, eerie and very dark sounding album. And that doesn't sound like I enjoy it, but I really do. I remember walking home from school, walking to school around October, November time. That's around when I got this album. And obviously it being dark, and it really suited the mood. And it isn't just because of when I chose to listen to this album that I find it has that sort of mood to it. It's a very hip-hop inspired album, and because of that it's got a very urban feel to it. And again, not only that, but a lot of the song context and the lyrical themes are very dark as well. I find that mainly with songs like Gravity, Starshine and Tomorrow Comes the Day. I mean, this thing has Clint Eastwood, which is a classic, 192000, which is a classic, Rock the House, which is a great party anthem and one of the rare times when it actually picks up and is quite uplifting. And the only really other time I can really say that is, as well as 192000, is the song Slow Country, which despite also having a very cold sound to it, I don't know, it's actually a rather, it's a good pick-me-up, I've always found. And again, like Hong Kong, I felt it's a very beautiful song. This overall is a great trip-hop album, and it's definitely worth checking out. There's no real bad songs on here. The only thing that I'd say might be a bit, you know, off-putting is the song Punk, and perhaps the song Latin Samoan, which is unique, I suppose, and Double Bass maybe, but they're songs that I do enjoy, just maybe something that wouldn't be universally enjoyed, that's all. Now we'll get to the crappy part of ranked albums, where when I show number 2 and you have good knowledge about the discography of an artist or a band, you're going to know what's going to be number 1, so hey ho, never mind. But this might be interesting to quite a few people. Which one is it going to be? Oh well, I'm showing it here. Whoopsies. Yeah, so I'm actually putting Demon Days as my second favourite one. This has definitely probably the biggest collection of most well-known Gorillaz songs. Dirty Harry, Feel Good Inc., El Manana and Dare. And as well as that, we've got other brilliant songs like the brilliant November Has Come, which thanks to Gorillaz got us in MF Doom, probably my favourite rap artist. Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head, which is a brilliant song, totally unique, never heard any other song like it. Don't Get Lost in Heaven, as well as Demon Days, which kind of work within each other, which is kind of like an operatic song, which again, very unique. And we've got songs like Oh Green World and Kids with Guns, great songs as well. The only songs that I've never been that bothered about is White Light, which most people agree is the worst song on here, but I actually still quite enjoy it in a way. And for some reason, I've never gotten into Every Planet We Reach Is Dead. I have no idea why. It's a lot of fans' favourite, but I don't know why. I've never liked that song that much. I've just, again, found it a song that just goes in one ear and out the other. It's one of those things where I really can't say why. It's just personal preference. I'm not that big on that song. But apart from that, honestly, again, great album, and you've got to listen to this album. It's a classic. And so, surprise, surprise, number 1, my favourite Gorillaz album is Plastic Beach. And I don't even know where to start with this album. This is like one of my favourite albums of all time. Oh man, I've listened to this album so many times and I've just never got sick of it, which is just a rare case for any music in general. It's so varied, it's so densely produced and just intricately made, and I don't know, I've just always had a special bond with this album. I've loved it since the day I heard it, and I've just, again, grew up with this album. I'm saying I grew up with the entirety of Gorillaz' music. There was a time where I just kind of forgot about them, and this is bearing in mind that they did have a 5-year gap between Demon Days and Plastic Beach. But ever since Stylo's music video came out, which I thought was brilliant when I was at the gym back at school, to now, I've loved this album, which was taught in, what, 7 years now? Jeez, can't believe that. And again, this is a really impressive album in terms of sound and what I've said before. However, this means a lot to me because it got us into a hell of a lot of different artists. I mean, because of this album, for some reason, I know, of course, they were on Feel Good Inc., but this is when I just thought, hey, I might try De La Soul. Hey, I'm going to try this Lou Reed guy. Mark E. Smith, he sounds like a right dodgy dude on that Glitter Freeze track. Let's try The Fall. Oh, I really like that vocalist who sings on To Binge and Empire Ants. I'm going to try Little Dragon. And it just went on and on from there. I mean, it was an excuse to play Snoop Dogg, and hey, you gotta love Snoop Dogg. Oh man, bloody hell. Empire Ants, again, one of my favourite songs ever. And you know what else is one of my favourite songs ever, which most people consider one of the worst Gorillaz songs? You see, this is just preference. I'm not that bug on Every Planet We Reach Is Dead, that's a fan favourite, and got vice versa here. I love Sweepstakes. And it's not so much I like Mos Def's part on it, but man, I love that song. It took us a while to get into it, I will admit, but I just think it's definitely the most underrated Gorillaz song, in my opinion. I just think the build up to it and the use of orchestra just brings this to a high intensity, and it's on my workout playlist just because it rocks so hard for me. Stylo's a classic. Some Kind of Nature I love. Broken I love. To Binge I love. Cloud of Unknown's great. White Flag's great. Rhinestone Eyes is brilliant as well. Superfast Jellyfish, I love that song as well. There's just so many, like, pretty much 10 out of 10 songs on here that I just could not have put it anywhere else but number one. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching if you watched this the whole way through, and fingers crossed that this new Gorillaz album's going to be coming out pretty soon. I'm really stoked for it. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you've got your own order of Gorillaz albums where you'd put each one, like from worst to best, please comment where you would put them. And if you've never tried Gorillaz, do try them and let us know what you think of them. Let us know your least and favourite tracks, and how excited you're going to be for this new album. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and hope you have a nice day now. See ya.